Hi, all. Here we are back again, and happy Valentine's Day. I had a very interesting week. Last week, I asked some of you to go out of your way and to connect, and I had quite a few calls this past week, and I'd like to continue on from where we were, and I'd like to look at Valentine's Day and listening to the conversations that I've had. I was quite taken by the fact that the millions of choices there are create problems for people. I had at least 20 phone calls last week following through on, and the fact that I had shared with you issues. And what I'd like to do today is focus on the fact that if we're going to do this successfully, we have to recognize all of the pressures that there are out there, and we have to keep our balance. I'm not sure, because I didn't focus, how many choices I needed to make between real life, getting to interact with you guys, and being part of our transformation from AccuWeight to AccuLife. And one of the things I really love about AccuLife is because you are in the middle. And that's what all of this is about. The next step is us developing a process where you actually take control of your life. The challenge of choices is the fact that everything is always changing. Nothing is ever alike. And I don't care what it is you do. Whatever routine you have, whatever your processes are, the simple truth is that you're not going to do it exactly the way you did it the last time. And because you didn't do it exactly the way you did it, there's a realization within yourself. And since all of us have this hidden thought that we want to make it right, we want to do it perfect, and it's not going to happen because change is inevitable. Now, it's a battle. Maybe it's a war. But maybe all we're talking about is you in the middle, you the center of everything. Remember, one of the things we did was agree that the only reason you're here today with me is you want to lose more. Now, if you want to lose, then you're going to do certain kinds of things. And it's not a question of doing them, it's how you're going to do them. And if we don't face this honestly with ourselves, then all we do is repeat yesterday and never truly get to tomorrow. All of you made a commitment, and you made that commitment to yourself. This is what it is I want to happen. You had every right to do that. No one has a right to say you don't have a right to do it. And that's where the rub comes in. Because week after week, we have been talking about, without clearly defining what it is. Now, this is Valentine's Day. And in my discussions, the myriad of choices that people shared with me and how it would affect them actually blew my mind. Because in many of the cases, and I was part of it as well, when I listened, I was also thinking about me and how I participate in that. Now, it's Valentine's Day. Do I have a Valentine? Don't I have a Valentine? Do I love? Do I not love? Will I be loved? Can I be loved? Should I be loved? I have to choose. And back and forth we have been going. I, for one, should I choose myself? Or should I choose someone else? Now, why would I choose someone else? The answer is, it's personal. One of the things, for example, I did this evening was give my 973 number out there, outside this room, and asked, would you please answer the phone for me should it ring, and let people know that I will call them back, but I don't want to stop what I'm doing and talk to them when they call me this evening. Now, I was ambivalent about that. And the reason I was ambivalent is because one of the thoughts that I had was, hey, Doc, you said, call me anytime. Well, I'm calling you. No, I didn't know you were on Facebook. But you told me, and I have a question. I want you to answer it. Now, here's the problem. I have to choose between you and me. I'm doing Facebook. You want to talk to me. If I talk to you, then maybe there's an affront against you. If I don't talk to you, then maybe there's an affront against the person who called me. So let's get this straight. There is no one in this interaction, out there in the netherworld, in here, there is no one more important than the person who is participating in this focus now. You're the most important. You're the most important. You're the most important. You're the most important. I'm the most important. Now, what does that mean? It means I have to accept the fact that my life revolves around me, and how I act and how I behave is going to impact on my life. For you, it's immediate. For me, it's 25 years in the past, but nothing has changed. I chose to weigh less 25 years ago because it was important to me for me. Now, in that process, and the truth is, I wasn't very clear. I didn't understand that it would impact on my interaction, relationship with other people. Some of them closer to me than others, because I made what I thought was a commitment to do the program. Now, since I'm a little kid, people have talked about diets, and there are so many diets out there. I chose what was then AccuWeight. Now, it's not important why I chose it. What is important is that I acknowledge to myself that I, in making that choice, was committing myself to a decision that I made without realizing that it was going to impact with my interaction with the rest of the world. Was I naive? Was I just a simpleton? No. The thought never occurred to me. But this week, in talking to at least 20 of you, I realized that what you were saying is, I made the choice to do what's becoming AccuLife. We're in the process of folding it over. And you said to me, Dr. Schwartz, in order for me to be successful, I have to be the most important person in my own life. And I've tried, Dr. Schwartz. I get up in the morning and I remember what you said, that I'm getting up with someone who's with me all the time. I go to sleep with that person. I wake up with that person. I go through the day with that person. And that person is also me. It's a part of myself. And if I'm going to make the choice to make that person the most important person in my life, what are the implications? What happens? Now, there's a second piece to that. Because of Valentine's Day, people were sharing with me the numerous choices they had this week, which would culminate today on Valentine's Day, and how dealing with those choices was going to impact on them. And I'm going to use the word, I'm not making it up. It's kind of, I compiled it. The word is choices and self-love. If I'm going to be the most important person in my life, then I have to be more important than my image of you or anyone else. And in those discussions, people were saying to me, Dr. Schwartz, this one is important to me. This one is important to me. That one is important to me. This decision is going to impact on my relationship. This decision or not decision. And people, for example, weren't realizing that a non-decision is a decision. I decided not to choose. Well, you didn't decide not to choose. You chose not to choose. And the fact that you chose not to choose not only was a decision, but will have an impact. This woman says to me, they're going out, they're doing all of these kinds of things, and they're going to eat late on Valentine's Day. I've done so well on the program. I can't do, it's a milk day and it's after 6. What am I going to do? Now, I'm listening to this woman talking to me, and what I'm hearing is emotionality that is filling her up. But there is no clarity of that. And if not addressed, what I can see is it's becoming a concern, a crisis. Now, let's understand something immediately. If a decision such as the ones we're talking about, should I eat, should I not eat, should I go here, should I not go there, that's a choice. And if you're the most important person in your life, you should make that choice because it's important to you, and you should be clear as to the reason you're making that choice. Now, if it's not important, you still have to make a choice. Because if it's not important, it's not important. But would you be making a choice if you weren't considering that it's important to someone else? Now, we can go on forever doing this. But here's the bottom line. If one of these decisions is going to change my entire life and is going to change my relationship with you, then I'm making a decision not because I'm the most important person in my life, but because of the fact that I want you to view me in a particular kind of way, which is leading me into crisis. We've been promising 15 pounds every 30 days for 25 years. So the reason you're here is because you've accepted that commitment to do whatever it is that you have to do, to let the program do its work with you and end up with at least 15 pounds loss. It's simple. But suddenly it's not simple. Because now there's a thought in your head that making the decision not because you love you, but because you're emotionally concerned about someone else. And now you no longer are the center of your own life. And I'm going to speak directly. I think that's a problem. You don't have to agree with me. It's perfectly legitimate for you not to agree with me. But that doesn't make me wrong, and that doesn't make you right. And if you and I are in some kind of, and I'm putting this in quotes, relationship, and our relationship is dependent upon my doing for you, that's okay. But I have to accept the fact that it is for you I'm doing it, and that has to be okay with me. Exceptions to the rule? Absolutely, there are always exceptions to the rule. For example, if I do what you want me to do, it's going to harm you or someone else. Now, I want to have a love relationship with you, not be in love with you, but to have a personal, close relationship with you. And that's why it's you in the middle. But, and remember the word but, wipes away everything that went before. And we have to remember that. I love you, but. Now, if I love you, but, then I don't love you. I don't know what it is. I don't want to interpret it. What do you mean, but? Either you do love me or you don't love me. Either I love me or I don't love me. Either you love you or you don't love you. If there's harm in it for you or for me, then we have to look at the issue of harm. We don't look at, are you correct or me correct? And the reason is, if we are not in charge of our own lives, what we have constantly, and I hear it so often, I'm unhappy. I don't feel fulfilled. I'm sad. And I could go on. Now, years ago, because Dr. Chu entered my life, I learned something, and it bears repeating right now. Because I never realized how simple things could and should be and how complicated we make them. Dr. Chu pointed out to me that there were 5 primary colors. If there were no color, things would be black, and a combination of all of the colors, if I'm thinking correctly, would be white. And the primary colors made up the world of color. As things went on, I discovered, through Dr. Chu, that there were 5 primary feelings, just the way there were primary colors. And those emotions, like colors, were mad, glad, sad, scared, and hurt. And Dr. Chu said to me, all feelings are made up in some way, shape, or form with those primary feelings. I said, okay. And he said to me, there's a problem. And I said, what's the problem? He said, did you notice that only one of the primary feelings is positive? Mad, let's leave out glad, sad, scared, and hurt. The other 4 of the primary feelings are emotional in content and are problematic. He then said to me, what happens if the feeling of glad has been learned by you and in some manner or form it upsets you? How can you be glad, happy, whatever word you want to use, if you're achieving something that causes you emotional stress? It blew my mind. Now, I'm happy, but I can't show it to you because you're someplace else. And I realize that if I'm happy with you around and you see me as being happy, it's going to impact on you. And I could be causing you a problem. Now, this is where we are. You made a commitment to weigh less. You had every right to make that commitment, because the truth is, and it's very simple, you are the most important person in your life. Now, that doesn't tell you anything other than the fact that you are the center of your own world. Now, people I spoke to on the phone today were complaining to me that they had choices to make. They were confused about those choices because they weren't certain that making the choices was the right thing. I pointed out to them there is no such thing as a non-choice. Everything is a choice. I love you. I don't love you. I like you. I don't like you. I'm going out with you. I'm not going out with you. Now, in and of themselves, none of those things are critical. What is critical is, what does it mean when I say I have to love me? If I love me, then whatever it is I do is for me. That doesn't mean bad for you. It means something else. I'm going to do the program because I want you to feel better when we walk together, that you're walking with someone who poses a figure that says, you are so lucky to have someone who looks like me walking with you. Now, there is no reason for me to say anything other than it makes me feel good that I shared that with you. Now, it impacts on you. Nowhere in human history, to my knowledge, have human beings been restricted, whatever that means, and in the process of restriction said it was okay. Unless I make a commitment to myself and truly mean it's okay, everything is out of balance. It's Valentine's Day. It was chosen for whatever reason there was. And I want to participate in Valentine's Day. What does that mean? It means just what it says. You define Valentine's Day. Now it's your definition. And participating in Valentine's Day is your right. It exists and you want to participate in it. No issue here at all. None whatsoever. Now, on some level or not, Valentine's Day means that I must be with you and share a meal. I just chose that. That's what it means. Now, how do I rationalize, justify that, and at the same time love myself? And what does love myself mean? It means I acknowledge that I am the most important person in my life. You are the most important person in your life. They are the most important persons in their life. And we have to consider that acknowledging that and interpreting it in a manner that can conform with what's going on inside you is critical. I got an email there that I couldn't understand. And hi, Dr. Schwartz. Here's one I can. It's clear. It's from Yvonne People saying, hope we all are happy with Valentine's Day. And here, sorry, this is me. The line. Okay. Now here is where my technological naivete and challenge comes in, because I understood the one from Yvonne. The other one, I'm sorry, I didn't. Now, let's keep it simple. All of us want to weigh less. We want to weigh less because that's something important to me to weigh less, to you to weigh less, to them to weigh less. And you recognize that in order to weigh less, you must change your behavior. And the reason you must change your behavior is because trying to weigh less the way you have been trying to weigh less hasn't worked. And one of the interesting things in my telephone calls this week is people telling me that it upset them that they had to justify weighing less. And I said, why do you have to justify it? And the answer I got back consistently was because it said how I was living my life was not proper because I wasn't getting the results that I wanted to that would make me feel good. Balance, insight, understanding, acceptance. You first have to be the most important person in your life. And if you can show me how you being the most important person in your life is detrimental to anyone or anything without you being harmed. And that's the key word here for me. I can love you. I can choose not to love you. If I choose not to love me, then something is wrong all over the place, because I would be choosing not to love me for you. And if you are in my life and you accept the fact that I am loving you because it's good for you, but it's not good for me, what are we saying? Now, this program is bringing us to a place that is very simple. And it is so simple that it scares many people. All of us are born unless we are pathological. For example, a person who's a psychopath. A psychopath knows the difference between right and wrong and blots it out. There is no line. I love you because, and I have a whole list of reasons why I love you. Now, I tell you that I love you. You hear that, and now you have a choice. Do I want to be loved by that person? And does the reason they love me, how does it feel to me? Now, if the reason is only to make you feel good, is it helpful? Does it work? Remember what we said here about weight loss. I have to make a commitment to change my behavior in order to achieve my goal. If my goal is not good for me and I choose to change my behavior to reach the goal which is not good for me, you take it from there. Self-love means that whatever radiates from me has a positive impact on what surrounds me. If what emanates from me is not from love, it's dangerous. If you participate. What emanates from me emanates from me. How you deal with it is different than what emanates from me. The doctor said that it would be good for me to do this, this, and this. I realize if I do this, this, and this, it will impact negatively on whatever it is outside me. Now, I have to now go in my head, listen to what the doctor said, and have to evaluate it in terms of where is the doctor coming from. One of the things I've told you for many years, the reason you call me Dr. Schwartz is I went to school, I had an education, and based upon that education, they conferred on me the name doctor. What does that mean? It means I know a whole bunch of things based upon my education, and as a graduate satisfaction of that, they conferred a name on me, doctor. Am I better than you or worse than you? We have no idea. One of the things I always laughed at is Dr. Chu saying to me, if you go to see a specialist, you're going to see them for a specific problem and you want to help. What happens if you go to see a specialist who graduated last in his class in that specialty? And you know the answer. Watch out. On the other hand, you interact with someone who is well versed in that specialty, expecting, and this is the important thing, that following the advice that you get or the education you get, it will make your life better. Balance is important. Balance is critical because without balance, you stumble around. Being in control is important because it makes you feel safe. But what happens if being in control requires that you injure someone else? There are so many underpinnings here that we have to be very clear about it. Now, number one, and this is critically important, have your reason for wanting to lose weight, to weigh less, clear in your mind. What is your reason for wanting to weigh less? 1. 2, if you're going to pursue your reason for wanting to weigh less, and that's important to you, you have to commit yourself to it. You have to change your behavior. You have to commit to changing your behavior, because only by changing your behavior and committing yourself will you achieve your goal. Now, change for many of us, if not all of us, makes us uncomfortable. I'm comfortable in everything being because not that I'm in control, but there's a comfort in knowing. I know when you come into the room, you're going to criticize me. And now you come in and you don't criticize me. My antennas start waving. What is going on that this time you came into the room and you didn't criticize me? I'm uncomfortable. I didn't say like. I said I'm uncomfortable because now I'm confused and lost. From the beginning, look around you. Everything is the same. And what do I mean? The sun rises in the east and goes to the west. It does its thing. And for all that we know, because we really don't know, we weren't there, this has always been true. and there is day, and there is night, and there are many kinds of things there. Some people tell me that it happened by chance. I have a difficult time with that it happened by chance. And the reason I have a difficult time is the perfection in which it's done. You know that to the minute and maybe the second, sunset and sunrise. We have ways of determining weather. I was told where I am here now that we're going to have a few days of mild weather, and then it's going to change and be less than mild for where I am. And I can pinpoint that based upon the science that I have been given. Now, if you want to tell me that all of that happened by accident, you have a right to tell me that. But for me, the perfection of it is such that it says to me, it did not happen by accident. There is some, there is some higher power, whatever that is. And that if I can pay attention to the higher power, then I will be more comfortable because I will know what to expect. And if I know what to expect, for me, I will feel more comfortable and safer. You want to weigh less. You can control weighing less. You can not only control weighing less, you can build your life around something. And this is what's, for me, important, that is predictable. I know that if I put my hand in ice water, every single time I put my hand in ice water and leave it there for a period of time, I'll have pain, I'll have numbness, I'll have discomfort, and I could probably go on and find some other things. Therefore, if I decide to put my hand in ice, knowing what's going to happen if I put my hand in ice, questions how important I am to myself. Am I the center of my own world? Now, I didn't say you should or shouldn't do this or that. I said you have to answer the question first. What is it that I'm doing and doing it, and what is my end game? We here are learning to enhance our own lives. Why? I don't know about you. I'll tell you about me. I'm enhancing my own life because it makes me feel good. And I like feeling good. And it is a good that I have seen no harm in without rationalizing. I like teaching you. because I see the results of teaching you, because they make me feel good. And again, with me in the center, I like doing something that works for you, that feels good to me. Now, if you want to judge that, you may. And that's okay with me, because what you think in that special regard doesn't truly reflect on me unless there's some harm involved. So that, for example, that I have to change my opinion or behavior or attitude because it's going to upset you and will reflect badly on me. The whole reason life exists, I believe it didn't happen by accident. I believe there's a higher power. And I believe that that higher power caused all of this to happen, and I don't understand it at all. And I recognize that higher power is not human. I don't know what to call it. People have different names for it. But I have decided for me that that higher power has done what it's done because it wanted to be a father, a mother. It wanted to be a parent. And it created humans in order to parent them and to get pleasure out of the parenting. Now, so far, for me, anything that I've said makes sense. And because it makes sense, I believe it. It doesn't harm you. So I can continue to believe what I just said, because so far I haven't seen anything in what it is that I said that would be bad for you. You want to weigh less. You need to have a reason for wanting to weigh less. And the reason for wanting to weigh less needs to be, I'm not sure what word, good for you. If you want to weigh less and it's not good for you, I see that as a problem. I see your life history and my life history, and you and I grew up in different places at different times with different parents, etc. And that environment which I grew up in was different than yours. And yours was different than mine. And now I want to lose weight. I want to weigh less. And I want to weigh less because inherent in wanting to weigh less, I weigh more. So I have to commit myself to change. And I recognize that change is going to be uncomfortable. But if I do that and it makes me feel better, then I have a reason for doing it, because I become important.